Welcome to Barnstable Today. I'm Nick Cortez.
And I'm Kevin Friel. We'd like to remind you right at the top that the meetings we cover are available on demand at the town's website. You can log on at www.town.barnstable.ma.us.
The Gatehouse at Sandy Neck is fully staffed and is now open every day from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and it has extended hours on Fridays and Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Sandy Neck managers are hopeful that the beach will rebuild after winter storms and erosion left it in difficult condition, which may affect public usage.
For the latest conditions and restrictions on Sandy Neck, visit www.sandyneckbeachpark.com. Speaking of things that might affect public use of Sandy Neck, Park Manager Nina Coleman on Monday night updated the Sandy Neck board on piping plovers.
Plovers, at this point we have many pairs of plovers. In terms of nests, we only have nests from Trail 6 out. We have a lot of activity out from Trail 6 out. This doesn't surprise me because, as I've been saying all along, the habitat is not so great until you get really to a little bit past Trail 4 when you'll see the beach bumps way out. That's not to say we're not going to have plovers in the ORV corridor. Please don't believe that. That's probably never going to happen. There are at least 3 areas in the ORV corridor where we have plover activity and consistent pair sighting. So we just don't have nests in that area yet. I am doing a June hike. It's on the website. I try to do an educational plover hike every year. And I will be doing that through the Barnstable Land Trust this year. And usually we go down, there's a lot of plover activity to the west of the public beach. So that's generally where I take people and talk about plovers.
Also meeting on Monday night was the Citizens Advisory Committee that's working on the town's comprehensive wastewater management plan. The CAC heard a presentation from Allison Watson of GHD Engineering on so-called compounds of emerging concern, an entirely different group of chemicals that may be affecting our water other than the excessive nutrients and bacteria that we already know about. Here, Watson defines what these compounds are.
And what I've put in this presentation is the definition from the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection, which really has 4 criteria for defining something as a compound of emerging concern. It must have a perceived or real threat to human health, public safety, or the environment. No currently published health standard or guideline exists, or it's evolving or being reevaluated. Or there's insufficient or unavailable toxicological information to really make a regulatory determination. And if none of those 3 things happens, but perhaps we already knew about this compound, it's already regulated, but we've discovered a new pathway or a new concern associated with the compound, then it could also be classified as a compound of emerging concern. So really what this definition tells us is that we're talking about a very broad category of compounds. So some of the buzzwords and terminology associated with compounds of emerging concern, there are really 3 groups that you hear discussed most commonly, and those are pharmaceutically active compounds, or you may see them abbreviated as PHACs, personal care products, or PCPs, and endocrine disrupting compounds, or EDCs. So lots of new acronyms. But essentially, pharmaceutically active compounds are medications. So they could include antibiotics, cancer medications, antipsychotics, any of the medications that are commonly prescribed for human health or veterinary health as well. Personal care products include shampoos, moisturizers, lotions, things that you would use commonly every day, fragrances, and endocrine disrupting compounds. The 3rd group is really where a lot of the concern has lied. Endocrine disrupting compounds are defined by the EPA as environmental chemicals that interact adversely with the glands and hormones that control or regulate many biological processes.
While there's still much to be learned about these compounds, Watson told the CAC that at least one thing is certain: they're present in almost every water body that's been studied.
What kind of occurrence information do we have when we're talking about compounds of emerging concern? The greatest body of occurrence information is probably the USGS National Reconnaissance Studies, which were the result of a data collection effort from 1999 through 2002 that looked at surface water, groundwater, drinking water, and streambed sediment across the United States, and screened for a variety of different classes of compounds of emerging concern. And what I'm showing here is the results of those reconnaissance studies. And really the take-home message from this is that when you look at non-drugs, antibiotics, pharmaceuticals, DEET, caffeine, all different indicators of the presence of either compounds of emerging concern themselves or indicators of the likely presence of compounds of emerging concern, they found them overwhelmingly wherever they looked. So these compounds really are in the environment. They are in our drinking water sources. They are in our surface waters and groundwaters. Now, in terms of occurrence, it really does depend on what you look for and how hard you look. And really what we mean by that is these are compounds of emerging concern. There are some that we know are of concern, but by definition, there are many more that we don't even know to look for. And if we don't know to look for them, then we're not going to find them. Similarly, many of these compounds are very active at extremely low concentrations, and the analytical methods to be able to test to such low concentrations are still being developed over time. So as these new methods are developed to be able to detect very low concentrations, we are discovering more and more occurrence of these compounds in our environment. So the body of occurrence data is still growing by the day. Compounds of emerging concern are here to stay. There are many compounds that we're already concerned about, we already know about, and we're just trying to get a handle on what their effects are and how to regulate them. And there are more being discovered every day as our occurrence information and toxicity information becomes more robust. And the regulations will catch up. I mentioned that there's movement at the federal level to regulate. There's actually faster movement at the state level to regulate these compounds. And as I mentioned, TOC is now being regulated as a surrogate, and in the future we expect to see limitations on specific compounds of emerging concern as we get a better handle on how, what makes sense in terms of setting limits. The time to participate is now. I put up the website for the Mass DEP page, but they really are in the process of setting those priorities. So to the extent that you can stay informed of what's going on and participate in those processes, it can only benefit you. And then planning processes should consider CECs. And your process is, obviously, and Nate is going to talk about some ways in which your process is considering compounds of emerging concern. But really the message is just this is an issue now, and it's only going to become more of an issue as time goes on. So it's very important that we're considering these in making determinations about how to address future wastewater issues.
You may have heard the acronym TOC, or Total Organic Carbon, mentioned toward the end of the last clip. Without the data necessary to determine which specific compounds need to be removed from the water and which do not, state regulators are requiring that towns control all organic carbons in the water. Currently, the effluent from the town's wastewater treatment plants do not meet state standards, making the study of potential upgrades to existing facilities a necessary part of the CAC's task. Now it's time to take a look at this week's remaining meetings. The Zoning Board of Appeals meets at 7 p.m. in the Town Hall hearing room, and the Old Kings Highway Historic District Commission meets at 7 p.m. in the West Barnstable Community Building on Route 149. On Thursday, May 13th, Site Plan Review meets in the Town Hall hearing room at 9 a.m.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. For Nick Cortez, I'm Kevin Friel. We'll see you next time on Barnstable Today.